Today we're going to be talking about the secret circle.
Sometimes they acted way too mature for teenagers, like the way Diana handled the breakup with Adam. She was just so level-headed and mature about it. So I liked that they had this group of young teenage witches doing stupid, immature things with their magic.
Before the pizza guy gets here, we're gonna do a spell to make him hot. Okay, that could be the least boring idea you've ever had.
And when he gets here, I'm gonna make out with him.
You did order pizza, right?
Actually, we ordered you. You tried that slap shot and scored from the through line.
I know you did not help Melissa magic flirt with Kyle instead of me.
I liked that it showed them acting like teenagers in general. I read the first novel a while back, but I thought the novel was a little bit better in the sense that everybody in the circle had a special skill that they were good at. One was really good with working with herbs, another one was really good at divination, another one was really good at working with crystals. Everyone had like a skill that they brought to the coven. I would have liked to have seen that more in this. It was sort of suggested that Nick and Melissa were the herbalists of the group.
I'm impressed you get Costas root to grow in this climate.
I put a UV light on it at night. Nick showed me a few things. I guess I'm a fast learner.
But I would have liked to have seen that taken further and have everyone have a skill or ability that they could offer the group.
There's a few magical elixirs. Once in a while there's crystal magic. Most of it is telekinesis or pyrokinesis, moving things around or starting fires with your mind. These powers end up being so strong that they have to bind their circle so they don't hurt anybody.
If we can't control what we feel or what we think, we're just gonna keep hurting people. But Diana's right. We have to bind the circle.
If you don't bind your circle, you have individual magic.
Lock on lock.
If you do bind your circle, you don't have individual magic.
Lock on lock. Lock on lock. Why can't I do any spells?
You can. I think that now that we've bound the circle, we can only do collective magic.
Oh, you think?
Something that Faye bitches about endlessly through the series.
I never would have bound the freaking circle if it meant losing my power. I need to find a spell that turns me back into a solo act.
You should have told us we were gonna lose our individual powers.
I didn't know.
It was said several times that their parents did not bind their circle.
Well, the official story was some teens were partying on an old boat and there was a fire. Some didn't get out. Diana thinks it's because they didn't bind the circle.
And that happened because the circle wasn't bound and their magic got out of control.
That's what we pieced together from Diana's book.
If their parents' circle wasn't bound, their parents back in the 90s should have had all their individual powers. So why does Jake's mom, who's a witch, not have the power to stop this witch hunter from killing her husband? Why does she have no power to fight the witch hunters as they drag her into this room? Why does she have no power to open this door and get away from this burning fire? And why wasn't the circle unbound when Nick died?
The circle is still bound.
Oh, but Nick's gone.
The ceremony you did doesn't just bind you to each other, it binds you to each other's bloodlines.
Wait, do you mean Nick's brother?
Yeah.
If it's still bound when someone dies because it binds you to the family's bloodlines, then how come this generation's circle isn't automatically bound from their grandparents or their great-grandparents' circle being bound? If it binds you to each other's bloodlines, then each generation should just automatically be bound. That didn't make any sense to me. I think it was a mistake to kill off Nick so early in the series and replace him with Jake so fast.
When dissent threatens us, in the circle we will find our power. With this oath, our journey begins together. Do you accept the circle? I accept.
If someone takes an oath or a vow, it doesn't swear in their siblings too.
There's no way I'm gonna let Jake be a part of this circle.
According to my grandmother, it's not up to us. He is by virtue of his bloodline.
You can't just replace Nick with Jake. It isn't right.
That's not how oaths or vows work. They have to be taken by individual people.
Yeah, you're not automatically married to my brother if I die.
I'm not married to your bloodline. I
Yeah.
married you.
Exactly.
In order to create the skull, we first have to destroy each family crystal and let their energies reform back into their original shape. But in doing so, your powers are no longer connected to a crystal or to each other, which means your circle will be unbound.
They didn't need crystals to bind the circle. They used a bonfire. If you're joining all your family's crystals together, wouldn't that just like unite you more? You are now unbound because plot.
Oh, I am so back.
Surge. Crystal.
Maybe it's just impossible to have a good story with a crystal skull.
Well,
The thing that really ruined the show for me in the second viewing, I think, was the backstory. This backstory is a mess.
Our ancestry is part of a legacy that dates as far back as 1692.
From 1692 to the 90s, the entire backstory is a mess. In the novels, in the Secret Circle novels, the family's ancestors fled the Salem witch trials, and they left Salem and they went to New Salem, Massachusetts, about 20 miles away, and they formed a new town. In the show, you have them traveling 3,000 miles east coast to west coast. Okay, going all the way to the west coast in 1692. This was 110 years before Lewis and Clark did it in 1804 to 1806.
You guys are saying I'm a witch.
Like your mother and her mother.
It's all in here, Cassie. Each family has a book. Like this one, a journal that lays down each family line.
Complete circle is 6. One from each of the 6 families.
Every family is separate and different. There's 6 different families, and they never intermarry. Each family has their own book of shadows, each family has their own crystal, each family has their own family tree. Armstrongs never marry the Connets, never marry the Blakes. The 6 families stay completely separate for 300 years. Who are these people marrying if they're not in reality? It would be impossible to have 6 families. You'd have one big interbred, family tree of the 6 families of everyone marrying everyone else, because that would be the only way to make magical babies if you need 2 magical parents. So who are all these people having children with if they're 6 completely separate families? Always.
Yeah, so in 320 years, nobody decided that witchcraft just wasn't for them. Nobody followed different religions. Nobody died in a war, ended a line that way. It just would have been a better story if the magic was just linked to the town somehow,
Yeah, like they had to stay in this region because there was some sort of source of their magic in this area. That would have given everyone a motivation to stay. Their parents' backstory is such a mess.
There's nothing I'd rather see than John Blackwell out of your lives, but trusting the witch hunters, it's reckless.
If the witch hunters can kill Blackwell, it's worth the risk. The 6 girls who got pregnant in my circle, he made that happen.
He impregnated all of you?
Only 2 of us. He used magic on the others in the circle to make sure they conceived with their boyfriends.
Boyfriends? Really? Boyfriends? Because all these women have the same last name of their boyfriends, suggesting that these were their husbands. Amelia Blake is the only woman in their parents' circle that has a maiden name and who is unmarried. So Elizabeth Mead and Dawn Chamberlain, which families were these women born into if they have no maiden names? Which families were they born into? They all have their husbands' last names. If you go to Elizabeth Mead's Wikipedia page on the Secret Circle Wikipedia, it just says Elizabeth Mead. Which family was she born into? Was she born a Mead? Why is she with Charles Mead if she was born a Mead? Was everybody Lannistering or Dollengangering, sleeping with inbreeding with their brothers to keep the magical bloodlines pure? If your family tree does not fork, you might be a hereditary witch. Elizabeth and Amelia were in high school when this was happening. Elizabeth is married with a child in high school.
Get Charles and the baby and go.
I can't leave. John will tell Charles the truth about our baby.
Your mom and I, we went through a rough period. We separated just for a few weeks.
You had a bad patch in your marriage. Being married already in high school, why would that put pressure on your marriage? Sarah Armstrong and Richard Armstrong, Jake and Nick's parents, are the most unbelievable part of this. They have 2 children. Jake was about 3 years old. So you can see here that it's suggested that all of these people are about the same age. Whenever their parent circle is talked about, it's talked about how they were all about the same age, they were all friends, they all grew up together.
Your parents were all such close friends.
If they're about the same age as Elizabeth and Amelia, that would mean that Sarah Armstrong gave birth to Jake Armstrong when she was 15 years old. This is why stories about hereditary witchcraft don't work, because you have to have all of their parents and all of their ancestors and everyone who came before them doing completely impossible things to line up everything for the current generation to be born and all be in the same place.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least they changed their last names over the years, I guess. He didn't have Cassie Bishop or Adam Proctor or Diana Nurse.
Our families are written in the stars. Me and Amelia were meant for each other. Me and Amelia. It's the same for you and Adam. Our families are written in the stars. Do you know that our families are aligned in the stars? It's Adam's destiny to be with Cassie Blake. It's always been that way.
Shut up, shut up, shut up! Jesus Christ, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Please, just shut up! Fuck!
Yeah, the Blakes and Connants are fated to be together over generations. How come they never got together?
James Connant, Adam's grandfather, did not get together with Jane, Cassie's grandmother. It did not work out between Ethan and Amelia. If these people were meant to be together, they actually would have been together.
Yeah, and for a little while, it looked like the Blake and Connant love story was actually a curse, but that turns out to be a manipulation by Blackwell.
You scheming son of a bitch. You're driving Adam and Cassie apart because you're afraid of their destiny.
So yeah, we can't have Adam and Cassie get together. Blackwell has to drive them apart, because if Adam and Cassie got together, they might have stayed together. Then they would have gotten married and have children, and then there would have been 5 families instead of 6. And how do we keep all the 6 families separate for each other? You see how this doesn't work? I felt really bad for Diana, because her and Adam were together at the beginning of this series and they seemed to really love each other. But then he was just so drawn to Cassie. Diana saw it, so she broke up with him. And Diana gets over Adam and starts dating Grant. And then both Jake and Adam want Cassie.
Oh God, imagine if there was another Cassie running around. Then you could each have one.
And then Adam and Cassie get together. Jake can't have Cassie, so he sleeps with Faye, who he has a complicated past with. And then Adam and Cassie are driven apart by Blackwell's manipulation. And then it's hinted that Melissa and Adam might have feelings for each other. And then Faye decides she's done with Jake and gets together with Lee, the voodoo witch doctor, who's cheating on his girlfriend Eva with Faye.
Oh, good God. You kids switch partners more than square dancers.
That's how actual high school relationships work. Not married with a kid at 18, all 5 of us.
Yeah, another suspension of disbelief that you have to take is the murders. People are just murdered all the time in Chance Harbor, and the police never seem to investigate. Yeah, when Simone the witch hunter is killed by Jake, there's no blood after he stabs her for one thing, and they never talk about what they did with the body.
The next scene,
it's never an issue.
He just shows up at Cassie's house, and they talk about everything except how he got rid of the body. It's just never mentioned again.
Yeah, people are killed. There's no witnesses. They're right outside crowded restaurants at one point.
Charles drowns Nick, like right outside by the boathouse, and nobody sees it.
Yeah, not only the police don't pay attention to murders, but the characters don't pay attention either. Jake, they find out, as a witch hunter, used to murder people. He murdered the character Calvin. And they were just like, well, that's cool because you were being manipulated into being a witch hunter.
I believed Isaac when he said the witches were the ones who started the fire that night. That's why it was so easy for Isaac to manipulate me. I believed our parents were destroyed by the destructive thirst for power. I killed Calvin.
Well, it's in the past.
It's like, dude, you killed someone.
I know. If I had a common member tell me that they murdered someone, I'd be like, yeah, you gotta go. You gotta leave the group.
Don't talk to us. You kill people. That's not cool.
The first time I watched this show, I really loved it. We're not saying it wasn't a good show. There was a lot of good things about it. The acting was really good. I thought all the characters were really good. All the actors really, especially during the emotional moments, I thought really nailed it. The action and suspense was really good. I was always at the edge of my seat, and the finale was great. During the finale, they wrapped up all the different plot points, and I was on the edge of my seat, the whole time, really tense.
Yeah, the plot structure was great. The pacing was a lot of fun. The look of the whole thing was wonderful too. I mean, it just keeps you engrossed. It gets better as it goes along until it builds to a really satisfying climax and conclusion at the end. As a network show, pretty good. You just don't think about the backstory. You gotta realize these are network writers, not fantasy writers. They don't know about world building and crafting a good backstory. The only reason that Magicians is good with its credibility because it's based on books, and Motherland is great because the guy that wrote it originally planned it to be a series of young adult fantasy novels.
Yeah, we love those. Our next review is going to be The Good Witch. Please subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you so much for watching.